Revealed how a kind woman's incredible act of posing as a billionaire's wife changed everything. In the small town of Maplewood, Sarah was a beacon of resilience. Each day, she donned her waitress apron, fighting against the bitter chill of her humdrum life. A single mother at 32, she pulled double shifts at the diner to provide for her spirited 7-year-old son, Tommy. Though their home was often cold, warmed only by dreams of a better life, Sarah filled their nights with tales of perseverance, igniting hope as bright as the stars in the Midwest sky. But beneath her cheerful facade, dread pooled like rainwater, bills mounted, and without the community center's after-school programs, Tommy's laughter risked being dulled by the monotony of a world that often forgot about kids like him. That fateful night at the charity gala held in a mansion made of elaborate stone, Sarah stumbled into uncharted territory. Intent on her one night off from the diner, she collided with Mark, a wealthy businessman who was scouting for lost memories amid the glitz. He mistook her for his estranged wife, and in that fraction of a moment, Sarah made a choice fueled by desperation and dreams. She slipped into the role of a glamorous woman, leaving her humdrum past behind. The cocktail dresses sparkled like glistening jewels, and laughter echoed like music, swirling out of control around her. Caught in the thrill of a new identity, Sarah glided through the crowd, her heart pounding with exhilaration and fear. She engaged these influential figures with surprising candor, her words woven with the truths of hard work and family loyalty. Time and again, her humble origins prompted sips of disbelief. Yet, she stood her ground, pride swelling in her chest as she held her head high, the embodiment of grit, battling the scorn of a disparaging woman who sneered at her roots. "How charming, your quaint little diner life," the woman scoffed, sending needles of doubt through Sarah's heart. Internal turmoil churned as she faced an enticing world lined with privilege and opulence. Every laugh felt more ephemeral, and with each twirl and twinkle of her borrowed jewelry, she sensed she was stepping further away from her authentic self. Just as the evening reached a serene peak of laughter and glamour, chaos erupted, a chance encounter revealing her masquerade. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The unveiling of her deception spun the gala into a frenzy. Faces changed from admiration to disdain. Whispers turned into full-blown conversations of judgment. Yet, amid this chaos, Sarah felt the grip of her community, the very people who supported her all along. Friends rallied to confront the injustices her pretense had spotlighted. At that moment, Sarah stood at a crossroads. She grappled with how to fortify her identity, weighed by loyalty to her son and the truth she held close. The stakes climbed higher, and with a heavy heart lingering on her shoulders, Sarah found herself pondering. Which road would lead to a better future for Tommy? Would she risk losing everything she cherished to uphold the values deep-rooted in her soul? The truth loomed, shining bright against the darkness of her choices, and she was left to sift through the chaos that could change everything. The room was thick with tension, each gaze a knife carving deeper into Sarah's conscience. The murmurs were not the sweet background music of laughter she had basked in earlier. No, they had transformed into a cacophony, an accusatory symphony echoing her deepest fears. Mark stood frozen by her side, his expression shifting from shock to a myriad of emotions that danced across his face like shadows in the flickering candlelight. "Sarah, is this true?" His voice, once warm and inviting, now held a chill that pierced through the excitement of their earlier interactions. The glitter and glamour suddenly felt like shackles, a weight pushing her further into the ground beneath her. She opened her mouth to explain, but found her voice tangled in the web of her lies. The truth felt heavier than any burden she had ever carried, and under the scrutinous gaze of the elite, she froze. The room became a blur, faces morphing into indistinct shapes as she battled the whirlwind of her thoughts. What had she hoped to gain? Was it worth the price of losing herself? Let us call it what it is, said the voice of the woman who had scoffed at Sarah before. She's just a waitress, playing dress-up for the evening. She doesn't belong here. Laughter rippled through the crowd, sharp and biting. In that moment, Sarah's heart sank. For a fleeting second, she considered escaping this charade, running back to her small apartment and the warmth of Tommy's laughter. But then she remembered the need to show Tommy that magic could exist, even for someone like them. It wasn't just about survival. It was about thriving, dreaming big. Then she caught a glimpse of familiar faces, friends from the diner who had come to support her. Their expressions reflected anger, heartache, and empathy, giving her strength she didn't know she had. They had been cheering her on long before the gala's glitz drew her in. Enough, Sarah finally shouted, her voice unsteady yet fierce, breaking through the storm of whispers. She took a step forward, straightened her shoulders, and locked eyes with Mark. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I am a waitress, yes, but that doesn't define my worth or my dreams. The room grew quiet. All eyes were on her. At time we recognized that every story matters, that each life, no matter how humble, has value. I portrayed a lie because I wanted to feel something I thought was out of reach. But the truth is, I have everything I need to be happy. My son, my friends, and the community that stands by me. A murmur of surprise rippled through the guests. Some, like Mark, looked conflicted, while others seemed to soften, contemplating her words. Maybe it's time for a change, she continued, emboldened by the solidarity she clung to. Maybe it's time to appreciate each other's journeys and not let the glitter blind us to what truly matters. Just then, a hand shot up from the back of the room. It was a reporter investigating the scandal, pencil poised over paper, eyes wide with inspiration. Are you saying you'd welcome a dialogue about real lives over superficial appearances? Sarah's heart raced. This could be her chance to turn the perceived humiliation into advocacy, to fight for the community struggling just like her. She looked around, sensing the pivot, the possibility of real change in an unexpected place. I am, she breathed, feeling the shivers of hope skimming her skin. Let us start now. As the energy in the room began to shift, Sarah savored the rush of her own voice reclaiming her narrative. But deep down, her pulse quickened. What would this new chapter mean for her and Tommy? Would they be able to move forward from this chaos? Or would her moment of truth lead to unforeseen consequences? And as she stood there, ready to embrace the unknown, a knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. What lay ahead was unpredictable, both terrifying and thrilling. But could she truly change everything? The silence that followed Sarah's declaration felt endless, wrapping the room in a thick blanket of uncertainty. Then, slowly, whispers began to swell again, a tide of mixed reactions flowing toward her. Some murmured in disbelief, others seemed to nod in reluctant understanding. The laughter that had once mocked her now lay dormant, replaced by something deeper, curiosity tinged with apprehension. Mark took a step closer, his brow furrowed in thought. Sarah, are you really sure about this? The world isn't kind to those who stand out. They won't let you forget. She could see the conflict in his eyes, the pull between the man who had admired her strength and the man who was trapped in expectations that didn't include the likes of her. Sarah's heart ached for him for a moment. They were on the same wavelength, each grappling with their identities in a world that demanded conformity. Do you really think I've come this far just to back down now? She replied, her voice carrying a confidence she didn't quite feel. I've spent too long living in shadows, pretending to be someone I'm not. I can't go back to that. He regarded her with a mixture of admiration and regret, as if seeing her for the first time. But this isn't just about you, you know? It's bigger. There are people who have built their worlds on the very classism you're speaking out against. You might be challenging something dangerous. The crowd shifted, their attention swinging between the two of them, as if witnessing a grand play unfold. Sarah felt the heat rising in her cheeks, but the stares from her friends anchored her. They backed her up before, and they were still here. She glanced at them, surprised to see a few taking cautious steps forward, encouraging, even proud. Mark, she began, steadier now, I know what I'm risking. But isn't it worth it? Don't you want to be part of something that matters? Something that could change how we see ourselves and each other? His eyes softened, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of hope there, mingled with uncertainty. It was a flicker that ignited something in the audience, too. Several heads nodded in agreement. The moment was electric, firing through the crowd like a live wire. Before she could continue, the reporter forced her way further into the space, capturing the moment with fervor. So, what you're saying, Sarah, is that we need authenticity? Real stories from real people? She scribbled notes furiously, her emotions palpable in her enthusiasm. Exactly, Sarah exclaimed, pacing slightly as she spoke, her heart thumping louder with every stride. We can't just surround ourselves with stories tailored to fit a certain image. There's power in vulnerability, it's the common thread that connects us all. A woman in a sleek gown, who previously mocked Sarah, now stood with crossed arms, an expression of contemplation mixed with incredulity. So what's next? She asked, voice sharper than intended. You want us to turn our backs on who we are, what we represent? Sarah paused, taking a deep breath. The answer was crucial, not just for her, but for everyone watching. No, I'm not asking anyone to change who they are. I'm asking us to open our eyes, to recognize that every person has worth that isn't tied to their wealth or status. Can we come together to celebrate those stories instead? A ripple of murmurs surged through the crowd as she spoke, and Sarah could feel the shift, the collective release of pent-up tension mingled with anticipation. She took a step back, her heart thudding in her chest, exhilaration mixing with fear. What would happen if they could really embrace this? But then her breath caught as she noticed a figure slipping quietly towards the exit, framed against the fading glow of the ballroom lights. It was Tommy's father, a silent specter at the edge of the evening's chaos. What would he think of her now revealed, stripped of her facade? And what if this moment put their lives in jeopardy? As that reality hit her, a spark of dread ignited alongside her hope. In that atmosphere of potential change, could she really shield her son from backlash? Her thoughts raced as the crowd began to respond to her words. And somewhere between pride and fear, she felt the weight of her choices settle back in like a familiar, unwanted friend. Would the confrontation she craved lead to the transformation she dreamed of? Or was she standing on the precipice of a much larger storm? The whispers escalated, washing over Sarah like a wild wave. The crowd was responding, and it felt intoxicating. But as her eyes lingered on Tommy's father, the pride slipped away, replaced by fear. Could her words spark a change, or would they ignite a firestorm? Sarah, Mark's voice broke through the noise, a beacon in the swell of energy. Look, I admire your passion, but you're diving into a battle that's much bigger than you. We need to think this through. She shook her head, the clarity of her purpose making her bold. Mark, what good is sitting idly by? Lives are at stake. People are suffering. If we don't stir this conversation, who will? The crowd thickened around them, a living organism of tension and curiosity. Sarah's heart raced as she scanned their faces. Some had wearied looks, while others sparked with determination. The woman in the sleek gown, eyes now softened, stepped forward. All right, let us say we agree with you. What is your plan? A challenge, one she hadn't prepared for but was now ready to confront. I want to create a forum, a space where we can share our truths, where anyone can come forward with their stories. Every voice matters. We'll use our privilege to uplift the unheard. A murmuring rippled through the audience. Tommy's father hadn't moved an inch, but his eyes were fixed on her, searching for understanding or perhaps an escape. A knot tightened in her stomach. Who will host this forum? Another voice questioned from the crowd, a hint of skepticism in the tone. Do you think everyone will just jump on board? You're talking about shaking the very foundation of what we know. I'm not expecting everyone to agree right away, she replied, trying to project calm. Change is scary, but it's necessary. It begins with those brave enough to confront it head-on. Brave or foolish? Mark interjected, glancing between Sarah and the crowd. Doubt clung to his words, thick in the air like smoke. Maybe both, she admitted, her voice dropping an octave. But does that stop us from taking a stand? It didn't stop me from standing here tonight. A pause fell over the group, an uneasy silence that felt heavy with expectation. Then, slowly, some voices chimed in, planting seeds of agreement. We need a fresh start, one man called out from near the back. Or are we content with letting others define us? Sarah felt momentum shift, the tide breathing life into her vision. Glimmers of hope sparked in the crowd, and she realized that this was more than just an act of rebellion. It was a call to arms. Tommy's father finally moved, taking a step toward the scene. Her heart skipped as he drew closer, uncertainty radiating from his frame. "What did you want?" "Sarah," he said finally, his voice low but steady. "I don't know who you think you're speaking for, but if you want to change the dialogue, it's going to take more than just words. Are you ready for what you might unleash?" His question hung in the air, a thread connecting her broken heartbeat to the reality of her decisions. Did she truly want to bear the weight of transformation? All she could do was nod, though her insides churned. As he studied her, waiting for her to speak, the crowd held its breath. The stakes were rising, and she could feel it deep in her bones. "I am ready," she managed. "Let us do this together." With that, the whispers erupted again, more focused now. Sarah sensed the shift into action, but the shadow of doubt lingered alongside excitement. She turned to the gathering, heart racing. Could they truly rally together? Or was she about to kickstart a conflict that could tear them all apart? In that moment of unity, before she could escape the grip of trepidation, Sarah caught Tommy's father's gaze once again. The tension crackled between them, hinting at deeper concerns she hadn't yet comprehended. As the crowd surged forward, spirits lifted. What would the next step of their shared journey demand? Would they crumble or prosper in this newfound resolve? Sarah could feel the air shift, a palpable surge of energy running through the crowd. Their murmurs transformed from whispers into palpable excitement, a swarm of voices rallying around her newfound purpose. But beneath that current of hope, the undercurrents of doubt bubbled, threatening to pull her back under. Mark adjusted his stance, still clouded with uncertainty. "All right," he said cautiously, stepping closer to Sarah. "If we're going to do this, we need a plan. You can't just wave a banner and expect everyone to fall in line." His words grounded her even as they churned the uncertainty already swirling in her mind. "We will organize the forum in the community center. Set dates. Reach out to speakers who live through the issues we want to discuss. Make it a safe space." Sarah's mind raced with ideas. This was bigger than her, and she suddenly felt tiny, holding the enormity of it all. "Safe space?" A man from the back scoffed. "How can we guarantee that? You can invite all kinds of people. Not everyone wants to listen." Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it again, the weight of responsibility pressing down. How could she promise safety in a world where voices clashed so violently? "We can set guidelines. Respect for all opinions, no shaming, just shared stories." A gentle hand landed on her shoulder. It was the woman in the sleek gown. "Sarah, I may not have agreed with you at first, but I see something special in this idea. It's going to take time, patience, and the right people to really listen, but it's worth a shot. Count me in." Encouragement rippled through the crowd, and faces nodded, slowly at first, then with more resolve. It was enough to reignite the spark of determination within her. Maybe they could do this. Tommy's father stepped closer. "You know," he began, his eyes narrowing as he studied her. "This isn't just about gathering voices anymore. You could uncover things people don't want to admit. It could escalate beyond what you think." "Then let it," Sarah replied, surprising even herself. "If that's what it takes for people to wake up, to realize the truth, then so be it. We can't keep pretending everything is fine." The crowd's energy shifted again. This time, it was electric. The murmurs turned into shared laughter, mingled with applause, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. But in the back of her head, Sarah couldn't shake the nagging thought that they were walking a fine line. Can we handle it? Will we be ready? She wondered internally. As the gathering disbanded, Sarah felt a strange mix of exhilaration and dread. Together, they had sparked a new journey, but the truth she sensed lingering in shadows was still unknown. "Let us meet tomorrow, same time?" Mark proposed, a hint of excitement edging his tone now. "We'll kickstart this thing." "Tomorrow," she echoed, feeling it all unfurl like a wildflower breaking through concrete. The night air was ripe with possibilities, each breath feeling deeper than the last. But there was unfinished business tugging at her heart, and as the last of the crowd trickled away, Sarah caught Tommy's father standing alone, watching her. The weight of unsaid words lingered between them, and she felt a knot forming in her throat. "Sarah," he said finally, his voice lower, almost a whisper. "You're stirring a pot that's been simmering for too long. Are you ready for what might come to the surface?" His question stung, leaving her heart racing once again. Would she break something beautiful or shatter something already wounded? As uncertainty hung in the night air, Sarah couldn't help but wonder. In pursuing change, was she prepared to face the hidden truths that may emerge? The answer danced just out of reach, teasing her forward into an unknown destiny. What revelations awaited on the morrow? The morning dawned, its light spilling like honey over the town. Sarah's heart drummed a lively beat as she prepared for the meeting. She looked in the mirror, a stranger staring back. Was this confidence or defiance? Her phone buzzed. A message from Mark. Ready for today? It was simple, yet the question hung in the air like a challenge. Absolutely, she typed back, then added a smiley face. Did she believe it? The truth was, she felt a cocktail of hope and anxiety swirling in her stomach as she stepped into the community center. Her brain raced. Would they really come? The space was large, echoing her footsteps as she walked in. She had arranged a few chairs and tables, the space sprinkled with a sense of urgency and possibility. The clock ticked. A few familiar faces drifted in slowly. Mark was first, a shadow of apprehension behind his kind smile. Hey, Sarah, he said, glancing around. Do you think anyone else will show? I have to believe they will, she replied, a grin slipping to cover her nerves. We made something beautiful last night. As more people shuffled in, Sarah felt the room electrify. Each face she recognized held stories untold, frustrations bottled up, dreams brimming at the edges. Sarah stood taller, feeling their energy feed into hers. Okay, everyone, she said, raising her voice to gather attention. Thank you for being here. Last night, we began something, and today we take a step forward. A step towards understanding, towards connection. But before she could finish, a woman in the back, someone she had never seen before, crossed her arms defiantly. What makes you think this will change anything? Her voice cut through the optimism like a knife. A bead of sweat glided down Sarah's back. Change begins with conversation, she answered, her heart pounding. If we don't start talking, we'll never figure out what needs changing. The skepticism in the room was thick, but Sarah pressed on. This is about discussing issues we've all faced. It's about sharing our stories, learning a little more from one another. You can't just expect people to show up and share their deepest secrets. The woman countered again. It's not that simple. Intense eyes focused on Sarah, and for a moment, doubt rushed back in like a tide. But then she remembered Tommy, his helplessness in that moment, the way he had looked up at her, needing more than just a voice. You're right, Sarah said, her voice steadier now. It's not simple, but nothing worth fighting forever is. We can't change the world in a day, but we can start here, one story at a time. Let us create a bridge, not a wall. The woman's expression softened slightly, and a murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sarah's heart swelled with hope. This was what she had wanted to connect, to confront the fears head-on, to engage with the truth. They began sharing stories. Laughter bubbled up, followed by silence as heavier topics took center stage. Each revelation felt like a step onto sacred ground. Sarah realized change didn't just revolve around revealing truths. It required courage. But the meeting was interrupted by a sudden loud crash outside, the sound of glass shattering. Chills ran down her arms. She exchanged worried glances with Mark. The energy shifted dramatically, transforming the air into thick tension. What was that? He asked, the worry evident in his voice. I don't know, Sarah murmured, scanning the room. But we need to figure it out. The mystery lay heavy in their minds. Was this a disruption? A message? Or something more alarming? As they crept toward the door, uncertainty loomed again. Was this an invitation to turn back or a call to step forward? The answer lingered in the air, full of potential, swirling with danger. What lay beyond those doors? Sarah's heart raced within her chest, preparing her for whatever awaited. Sarah moved toward the door, her heart hammering in her chest. Mark followed close behind, his brow furrowed with concern. Together, they peeked outside, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The world beyond the community center felt heavy and charged, like the seconds before a summer storm. The sunlight poured through the cracks in the doorway, illuminating shards of glass glittering on the pavement. The sound had come from a nearby storefront, a small boutique that had once thrived, now covered in dust and neglect. Ample storefronts lined the street, but the signs of struggle had become painfully clear. A few more brave souls from the meeting joined them at the door, curiosity pulling them from the familiarity of their guarded emotions. They stared at the chaos unfolding in front of them, eyes wide with confusion. "What happened?" one man asked, his voice trembling slightly. I don't know," Sarah replied, scanning the scene again. A crowd had begun to form across the street, whispers fluttering like half-formed ideas. "But we need to find out." Mark nodded, stepping out of the safety of the building. "Let us go see what is going on." As they approached the shattered glass, a woman emerged from the crowd. She was tall and graceful, dressed in an elegant but understated outfit. Her face appeared calm, but her eyes reflected the tumult of feelings underneath. "There has been a break-in at the shop." She spoke clearly, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "It's not safe to stay here alone. They've taken a few items already." A shiver of fear flashed through Sarah, tightening her throat. The idea of violence in their peaceful town unsettled her deeply. "Are you okay?" she asked the woman, wanting to connect, to reach into the chaos and anchor herself. The woman met her gaze and nodded, a faint smile breaking the tension. "I'm fine, just worried about the trouble this might cause. People are frustrated. They need to feel heard, too." As if summoned by her words, several others joined the group, drawn by the murmurs. They started exchanging stories about growing crime rates, about fear creeping into their neighborhoods, wrapping itself around their doors like an unwelcome guest. Sarah felt the weight of their words stirring something deep within her. This is just the right time, she realized, to talk about what has been left unsaid. But before she could say anything, the woman continued, "We can't afford to bury our heads in the sand. We have to stand together." A round of nods rippled through the crowd. Their solidarity and shared experiences was electric. Sarah felt hope tugging at her again. "What if we addressed this as a community?" Sarah suggested, her voice rising, confident now. "What if we used our platform to voice our concerns? Shared our experiences like we did in the meeting?" "Yes," someone chimed in. "Let's start a dialogue." Mark's hand found its way to her shoulder, providing steady reassurance. Together, they rooted their resolve in action, and Sarah felt the weight of purpose settle in her chest as they began to organize, discussing how they could spread awareness and unite the neighborhoods. A loud shout pierced the air, cutting through the hum of their conversation. "Hey, you can't do this here." All heads turned toward the sound. An angry man from the crowd seemed ready to erupt, his face reddened with fury. What he had to say lingered in the atmosphere like a ticking clock, and tension escalated in an instant. What is going to happen next? How will they respond? Sarah thought, unease gripping her. But before any further words could spill out, something shifted inside her. She felt the familiar surge of determination. She knew this was more than just a meeting or a chance to share stories. It was now about fighting for the community, standing firm against fear, and unraveling the tapestry of truth that connected them all. The journey stood at a precipice, where emotions collided with uncertainty. Would they rise to the challenge or retreat into shadows? As she faced the angry man, Sarah braced herself, heart racing once more. Could she speak? Could she reach him and open a dialogue? Or would fear drown their newfound momentum? The answer sat like a storm cloud overhead, ready to burst open. Would they be able to push through this moment of tension together? Sarah's heart raced as the angry man loomed closer, his fists clenched at his sides. She could see the tension rippling through the crowd, faces filled with uncertainty, some murmuring amongst themselves. "Who do you think you are?" the man shouted, his voice sharp, echoing off the storefronts. "Start a dialogue? About what?" "This is our town, and you're just making it worse." The crowd shifted uneasily. Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach, a mix of fear and resolve surging. People were clinging to their emotions like life rafts, and she needed to find a way to keep them from sinking further. "Wait, just hear me out," she urged, stepping forward slightly, her voice trembling but unwavering. "We're not trying to ignore what is happening. We want to talk about it. We need to come together." The man sneered, crossing his arms defiantly. "Together? What do you know about together? You all live in your little bubble. This isn't something you can just fix with a meeting and some fancy words." Mark stepped next to her, his supportive presence a reassuring barrier. "But we can't ignore it either," he said, his voice steady. "We've seen it touch every one of us. We all want a safe community, right?" The crowd watched, silence hanging heavy in the air, faces softening as they absorbed Mark's words. Slowly, Eyes turned back to the angry man, who seemed to hesitate, the fire in his gaze flickering just slightly. I get it, he grunted, his tone softening a fraction. But how? You think talking will make it go away? What can you do? Sarah felt a spark of understanding every time he spoke, realizing that beneath his anger lay a deep-seated hurt and fear, just like hers. We start by sharing our stories, she replied, fighting the tremor in her voice. Every one of us has felt something. We're afraid, unsure, but if we can come together, we can make our voices stronger. We can make a plan. A few in the crowd nodded, and even the angry man's posture shifted, signaling that he was listening. People are feeling lost, she continued, encouraged by the small gestures of agreement. But maybe together, we can help each other find a way back. We need to channel this anger and fear into real solutions. Let us at least try. The man looked around, seeing faces softened by shared pain, the beginnings of understanding reaching across differences. Silence swept over the street as Sarah locked eyes with him, searching for that common ground. Look, I just want my family to feel safe, he finally said, almost reluctantly. But what if this doesn't change anything? What if nothing comes of it? She felt a wave of empathy wash over her. But what if it does? What if this is the first step to rekindling hope? The first pebble in a landslide? The angry man studied her for a long moment, then let out a frustrated sigh. Fine, he muttered, perhaps more to himself than anyone else. Let us see what you're all about. The tension in the air shifted, and hope began to weave its way back into the faces surrounding her. Sarah felt gratitude bubble up inside her, but she knew it was only the start. As they began to organize, voices intertwining in passionate discussion, the angry man stepped back, arms still crossed, but less hostile now. Sarah's heart swelled with determination. They had a chance this could lead to something more than they ever imagined. But deep inside, she felt the weight of a new question forming. What if their voices weren't enough? What if danger lurked beyond the door, waiting for them to step outside their newfound unity? With that thought lingering, Sarah took a deep breath and turned back to the group, ready to face whatever came next. Would they be able to take the next step together, or would fear claw its way back into their hearts? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm orange glow across the street as Sarah turned back to the group. Their faces radiated a mix of uncertainty and cautious optimism. This was their moment, a fragile thread they could weave together into something stronger. But could they hold on? All right, she started, gathering her thoughts. Let us talk about our plans. We need to share our experiences, the things that hurt us, the things that frighten us. Only then can we build a bridge out of this chaos. People began to nod, the anger that once rippled in the air now transforming into something more hopeful. She spotted the angry man from earlier, his arms still crossed, but he now leaned in, curiosity replacing hostility in his eyes. The woman stepped forward, her voice quaking but resolute. I lost my job last month. The layoffs hit everyone hard, and now I can't pay my rent. I don't want to end up on the streets. Heavy murmurs rose from the crowd. Others began to share their own fears and experiences, each story knitting a fabric of shared struggle. A young father spoke of sleepless nights worrying about how to feed his children, while an elderly woman lamented her dwindling savings, fearing she wouldn't have enough for medical bills. As they exchanged stories, Sarah saw something remarkable unfold. Between the cracks of despair, hope shone through, igniting a sense of camaraderie. They were all fighting the same battle, looking for strength in one another. The angry man shifted again, uncrossing his arms. I'm scared too, he admitted, his voice low but steady. I don't want to end up like them. He gestured slightly towards the scattered group of people who had shared their stories. I just want my family safe. Then let us work together, Mark encouraged, stepping forward. Let us take this anger and bravely channel it into action. Sarah's right. Sharing is just the start. We can organize. We can help one another. We need to take this power back. With every word, Sarah felt the energy shift. They were becoming something more, a united front. Discussions bloomed. Ideas sprouted like wildflowers in spring. Someone suggested setting up a community fund to help those struggling with bills, while another proposed a neighborhood watch to ensure everyone felt safer. The angry man even chimed in. What if we start a meeting every week? Share what we're going through, make sure we're all looking out for each other? Cheers erupted, voices rising in excited agreement. Sarah's heart raced with renewed hope. What had felt like a moment teetering on the edge of chaos was now transformed. They were building something, finding solidarity in vulnerability. But in the midst of their newfound connection, doubt crept in, whispering fears into the back of her mind. What if outside forces threatened to shatter their bloom before it could take root? As the excitement simmered down, Sarah's gaze drifted to the shadows gathering at the edges of their gathering. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. What if someone wanted to silence them before they had a chance to be heard? It felt as if a storm was brewing on the horizon, hidden but palpable. Gripping her phone tighter, Sarah turned to the group. "We need to stay united, no matter what comes. Are you with me?" The answer came in a chorus of voices, strong and unwavering. Yes, but as they cheered, shadows loomed just beyond sight, whispers of danger riding the wind. Could this fragile unity hold against the storms ahead? Would they be ready when the darkness snaked its way back into their lives? With those thoughts churning in her mind, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Change was coming, and it would demand every ounce of their strength. What they didn't know was that they were stepping into a bigger battle than they could ever have imagined. The air was thick with anticipation, a tangible buzz that wrapped around Sarah and her growing coalition of friends and neighbors. They had kicked off a movement, each voice adding vibrancy to their collective purpose. But with every step forward, a sense of dread lingered like shadows at the edges of a well-lit room that as they gathered again for their weekly meeting. Sarah caught glimpses of determination and hesitation on familiar faces. People mingled, sharing their fears over weak coffee and congealed donut holes. Yet there were smiles too. Perhaps change was in the air. But she sensed an undercurrent, a storm brewing closer than they realized. "Okay, everyone," Sarah said, her voice rising over the murmur of conversation. "We've made great strides. We need to solidify our plans for outreach. Let us make sure our message reaches beyond just our circle." Whispers of agreement rippled through the room, but Sarah could sense the thread of worry weaving through their discussions. "We're still vulnerable to those who don't want to see change," a voice called from the back. It was the older woman who had once hesitated to speak. "What if they try to shut us down?" "I can't pretend that fear isn't valid," Sarah admitted, her heart pounding. "But together, we are stronger. If we stand united, they'll hear us. And we can't back down now." She felt adrenaline surge as she spoke. This moment was a culmination of their shared struggle and resilience. Mark stood beside her, a quiet pillar of strength. "We need to plan an event at the community center, a larger gathering to showcase our stories, our realities. Let us invite members from every walk of life. We need partnerships with local businesses and organizations to amplify our message." "Absolutely," someone shouted from the crowd, gaining momentum. "We need to show that Maplewood won't let fear silence us." The energy in the room pulsed with life. One by one, voices joined in, ready to take action. Each story shared, each experience echoed, crafted a tapestry of collective strength. And then it happened. The doors swung open, causing heads to turn. A figure stepped in, unassuming yet out of place. It was Tommy's father. Seeing him stirred a complex swirl of emotions within Sarah. What was he doing here? A mixture of pride and anxiety washed over her. "Hey," he said, walking towards the front, eyes like storm clouds. "I've been hearing your plans. It's brave, what you're all trying to do. But please be careful." The weight of his concerns settled heavily among them. "You think we're in over our heads?" Sarah asked, searching for understanding. "No, but there are consequences. If you bring everyone together, voices will rise and not all of them will be friendly," he warned, his tone steady. "Just know that not everyone is aligned with your values. It could attract trouble." A knot formed in Sarah's stomach. His words echoed her fears. Was she risking their safety? It resonated like a drum beating in the silence. But she knew in her heart, retreating wasn't an option. "We can't step down now," she said slowly, her voice gaining strength. "This community needs to see we can rise above the fear. We can face whatever comes together." "It's a risk," he replied firmly, yet she noticed a flicker of pride in his eyes. With those words lingering in her mind, they moved forward with their plans. Posters were made, stories advertised. Excitement laced through Maplewood. People shared the event across social platforms. Word of mouth spread faster than wildfire. As the day of the big event approached, Sarah watched her dreams take shape, but uncertainty still nipped at her heels. In her heart, she felt the weight of her community, so many lives intertwined, bound by the courage to confront their reality that on the day of the event, the community center buzzed like a beehive. People filled the space, each desperately seeking connection, understanding. Families, friends, even skeptics came, each with their stories etched on their hearts. As Sarah took the stage, the crowd quieted, a sea of expectant faces. "Thank you for coming today," she began, her voice strong but tinged with emotion. "Each of you is here because you believe in Maplewood. This isn't just our story to tell, it's our lives woven together. We have faced struggles, and we're still here to share, to uplift, to connect." Applause erupted, a warm wave that filled the room. Each clap felt like a heartbeat, synced to the pulse of unity she had fought so hard to create. One by one, people stepped up to share their experiences, struggles with job loss, fears of raising their children in an uncertain world, tales of anger and despair intertwined with resilience and hope. Every voice broke down the barriers built by loneliness, fear, and judgment. As the session wound down, Sarah felt uplifted by the raw vulnerability surrounding her. People exchanged hugs, laughter, and tears, a communal healing she never imagined possible. Then, he spoke up again, the man who had once shouted and challenged her. "You know what?" he began, voice trembling. "You were right. This does matter. I've been angry for too long. I want to be part of this, and I see now we can be stronger together." Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, her heart swelling with gratitude. "That's it," she said, her voice catching. "Every story counts. Every one of us has a part to play in this journey. In unity, we rewrite the rules. This is just the beginning." But just as spirits soared and laughter erupted, the door swung open once more, and the murmur of voices hushed. A group of people stood there, faces hard and judgmental, embodying the very fear Sarah had tried to dissipate weeks ago. In that moment, her heart skipped. Were they too late? Had they stirred waters brimming with danger? But Tommy's father stepped to her side, unwavering. "Whatever happens, we stand together," he murmured, and the collective breath of the room drew courage from his words. As the crowd turned back, a mix of defiance and solidarity sparked within them all. They were ready. Together, let us embrace the storm, Sarah thought, knowing this was their renewed truth. Change was coming, but they would face whatever it brought as one. Now was not the time to falter. For every setback they faced together, their resolve grew stronger, unbreakable. As fear loomed, but hope illuminated brighter, they were determined to be heard. And so, with hearts beating as one, they faced forward into the bright uncertainty of tomorrow. Do not wait even one more second. You need to subscribe now to our channel to follow this thrilling journey and never miss our inspiring stories. Leave a like now. Every click feeds the algorithm and keeps these narratives alive. Don't forget to comment below, sharing your thoughts on this transformative journey. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness the power of community. This is the moment to show your support. Get involved today.